I so humbly submit. Thank you so much indeed.
Yes, thank you so much. Honorable members, this is a very important statement and is of serious public interest. So let's take it as such and give the proper lead and further investigation into the matter. Please, Deputy Minister for Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to comment on the statement made by the Honorable Minority Leader. Mr. Speaker, the death of any Ghanaian in this matter is unfortunate. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family and the loved ones of the deceased, and also to the entire nation. Mr. Speaker, I am the Deputy Minister of Health and also a traumatologist. In other words, I'm trained as a trauma surgeon specialist and consultant. Mr. Speaker, the event that led to this unfortunate incident and demise of the gentleman is tragic and should not happen. Mr. Speaker, in surgery, we call this a never event. Mr. Speaker, a never event is an event that should never happen. Under no circumstance, Mr. Speaker, should a human being die this way. Mr. Speaker, however, governance is a continuum. Mr. Speaker, we have the ministry has, as the Honorable Minority Leader said, has constituted a committee that is looking into the issue. And in fact, they have met today. We have also done preliminary inquiries. And Mr. Speaker, as we all know, I believe that the management of Kolebu Teaching Hospital has also independently interdicted some of their workers that were in the emergency room that night. However, Mr. Speaker, the conditions under which the current government came into running the country, Mr. Speaker, was rather dire when you talk about our health system. Mr. Speaker, this was the previous government started the Agenda 111 project, Mr. Speaker. Agenda 111 at the end of 8 years, Mr. Speaker, there was not one single hospital. I'm not engendering debate. I'm just trying to explain the circumstances. Mr. Speaker, Agenda 111, at the end of 8 years, Mr. Speaker, there was not one single hospital that was operational. Mr. Speaker, in fact, what we came to meet was multiple hospitals littered around the country, some of them at foundation level. There was not one hospital that a human being could walk in. However, they had spent millions and billions of Ghana cedis, to the extent that, Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General surcharged 35 contractors 7.9 million. And the refund that the Auditor General, Service surcharged.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please focus on the major issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am guided. Mr. Speaker, the current government is serious about what is happening in our emergency rooms. We have constituted a committee that is looking into it. We are collecting data as to what is actually happening in our emergency rooms. Mr. Speaker, the issue is multifaceted. Is it the pre-hospital, the ambulance, the pre-hospital care, or is it indeed what is happening in our emergency rooms? The ambulance service, Mr. Speaker, we had 30 ambulances that are currently parked. Mr. Speaker, in the last 5 years, the ambulance service personnel have not been recertified. Mr. Speaker, the ambulance was there because of the proximity to the ambulance service. They got there on time and they did what was necessary. Mr. Speaker, the issue of no bed syndrome, unfortunately, is not a new issue. This issue has existed for so long, and unfortunately, we or the previous government was not able to fix it. Mr. Speaker, in this government, we will take a bold step. The John Dramani Mahama government is going to take a bold step to solve the problem of no bed syndrome. Mr. Speaker, we are going to retool the hospitals, starting from the CHIPS compound to the health centers, all the way up to
Majority Leader. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, they requested to make a statement. I knew that this statement will raise issues, but at conclave, you said we should have it. Now, you've made a statement, she's commenting on it, and Mr. Speaker, just imagine the level of noise that is emanating from the other side. So, Mr. Speaker, can you imagine somebody using the word very insensitive?
Honorable members, please, let's listen to each other.
Yes, we need to listen to each other. You may think it is insensitive. You are talking about no bed syndrome. What does no bed mean? It means you didn't construct enough hospitals and provide enough beds. That's what no bed means. That's what no bed means. You may disagree with her, but that's her view. That's her view, that this is the underlying cause of the problem. That the hospitals don't have the beds. They don't have the space. They don't have the capacity. Because you promised and you did not deliver. You may disagree with her, but that's her view. Please, let's listen to each other.
Honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please.
We are retooling the hospital.
We agreed that we'll take 3 from each side of the house. So kindly wait when it's your turn. Then you can put across your views. But honorable members, I thought we agreed on some key issues. You are a Deputy Minister of Health. Do you need a bed to attend to emergency situation?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By definition, Mr. Speaker, an ambulance itself is a bed. An ambulance is what we classify as a step-down unit. The cart in the ambulance can be considered a bed. So in such cases, a patient can be treated in the ambulance.
Yes. Even outside the ambulance.
Exactly.
Outside the chair. Even at the ward. Do you need a bed to attend to?
Mr. Speaker, the patient
So let's move on. Please, let's move on.
Yes, the
let's
patient can
focus on the
actually be
issues.
treated. That is why we have constituted a committee to look into it. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we are retooling the ambulance service because they need to have the proper equipment in the ambulance, Mr. Speaker. It is not just the bed. Mr. Speaker, it is the bed plus the oxygen plus the IV plus the IV infusion itself plus the monitors plus everything in the ambulance. Mr. Speaker, an ambulance is not just a transportation device. So, Mr. Speaker, we are retooling the ambulances.
Deputy Minister was a Minister for Health. I know what I'm talking about. Please focus on the issue. The reason was that no bed. That is
Thank
what
you,
we've been
Mr.
told.
Speaker.
So focus on that. You've done well by establishing a committee to investigate the issue. So let's look at it seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a ministry, we are taking every step to ensure that such situations never happen in the country. Mr. Speaker, we are retraining our emergency services staff. Mr. Speaker, we are both training the doctors as well as the staff. We are even training the security in the emergency rooms. Mr. Speaker, we are also extending this into the ambulance service itself. We are going to ensure that all the ambulances have the necessary equipment to save precious Ghanaian lives. Mr. Speaker, this patient could have probably been saved if we had the proper supplies in the ambulance. Mr. Speaker, we are working diligently to avoid such needless deaths of any Ghanaian. And in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to the family, and I would also like to express my condolences to the rest of the country. Mr. Speaker, under our government, such incidences would not happen. Thank you.
Yes, honorable members, can we take two more from this side of the house? Yes, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to comment on this statement, and I join colleagues in expressing our condolence to the family of Charles Semisa for this tragic loss. Mr. Speaker, I also associate with the calls for a proper investigation to establish exactly what happened. Mr. Speaker, also, let me, on behalf of members of Parliament who may feel like associating with this call I'm about to make, apologize to the family of Charles Semisa for the comments that have just been made by the Deputy Minister for Health, which in our view attempts to politicize the matter. This is a matter of a tragic death, a matter that has now been announced as a subject of an investigation. There should be no basis for which at this time the attempts to suggest that it is because the immediate past administration did not finish Agenda 111 buildings or EMTs have not been certified. Because if we descend into that arena, Mr. Speaker, we may be tempted to ask what the administration before the last one also did about that. I'm not sure what Ghanaians want to hear us talking about today is an attempt to be doing partisan exchanges on this. What is important is that this investigation is done and is done in a credible manner. What is important is that if some wrongdoing is found, the persons who would have engaged in it are held culpable. And more importantly, Mr. Speaker, is an assurance that going forward, the emergency health processes that should take place in our health facilities across the country are very strongly observed. But Mr. Speaker, this happened in a very urban area where medical facilities are available, where medical personnel are unavailable. Can we imagine what is happening in many of the rural communities where facilities and personnel are in short supply? And so, across the aisle, we have to commit ourselves to ensure that no cedi should be spared in ensuring that facilities and personnel are made available across the country to be able to attend to the health needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, once again, we would extend our commiserations to the family of Mr. Charles Semisa. But this should not be a matter that is politicized in any way whatsoever. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Speaker, I'm so grateful. And just like my colleagues, I would also like to use the opportunity to extend condolences to the bereaved family and to wish them God's strength in this moment of grief. Speaker, at the heart of this whole thing, partly is the response that we often receive from our health practitioners. I recall during last meeting, one dawn I woke up to prepare for a television show, and then unknown to me, I went blackout. I was fortunate my son had the extent to which I fell and moved from his room to come to our master bedroom. and he managed to wake my wife up. They lifted me to one of the foremost health facilities in this country. Speaker, when we got there, my younger brother went in and drew their attention. They just told him, send him to another place. Speaker, it took my wife to tell them that the man lying in there is an MP. Then the rush in came. So the kernel of this issue sometimes is the discrimination by these professionals. And the discrimination they offer tend to make you and I, Speaker, be victims before the general public. I listened to one of the airwaves, the radio stations this morning, and none of us was spared. Speaker, not even yourself. The public holds an erroneous view that we are not doing much. Meanwhile, we are doing at least the best we could under the circumstances. But the response that comes from our practitioners, some of them, leaves much to be desired. And that is what we must focus on. Speaker, I think that the next thing for me has to do with the fact that we have overly concentrated our health facilities in Accra. And so, be it professionals, be it equipment, be it tools, most of them are here. So everything that happens in the 15 other regions must come to Kolebu, must go to UGMC, and so it makes these professionals also overstretched. And so governments must relentlessly look at that angle. I am happy and delighted to know that at least under the administration of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, his first tenure, he has demonstrated unyielding commitment to expanding some of this infrastructure. It's not enough. We must admit that we need to do more. And we must encourage the public along that we are not the kind of ruling class that always takes interest in going to London, Germany, America, and all other places to seek treatment. But then we are doing our bit, and we must win their confidence. This issue must not be left to go unchecked. I thank the ministry, I thank the government for instituting swiftly an investigation. The outcome must be brought on time, in real time, Speaker, so that we take decisive step to ensure that this doesn't rear its ugly head. Speaker, I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to commend the maker of the statement, Osahene Alexander Afenyomakin, the minority leader, regarding the passing of Charles Amisa. And let me also express my deepest condolence to the family of Charles Amisa. Mr. Speaker, it saddens my heart. Why? Because just about 3 months ago, in my constituency, when I was called by the police commander, there was an accident that happened on the Kumasi-Tamale Highway, specifically between Nkenkenso and Akumadan. Right away, we were told some people had passed, so we had to rush to the hospital. I'm happy to commend the director of the hospital, Mr. Speaker, because the facilities there is not enough. Patients were being treated at the outpatient department, and they had to improvise. Mr. Speaker, any one of us could have a cardiac arrest, and it will take between 3 to 5 minutes. If we are not safe, we could pass. And as such, our healthcare system should have a robust protocol that we use in managing health crises or emergencies. We shouldn't have excuse for a life to be lost. That is why His Excellency, the former president, said we know how to bring back the economy, but we don't know how to bring back life. Any single life that is lost can never be brought back. And this is not the time as a house to debate, but this is a time for us to improve on what the previous government started. If the previous government started constructing hospitals, Mr. Speaker, we should help. The case that I'm referring to in King Council, Mr. Speaker, because of that, they don't have emergency unit, and I'm using the small common fund, the 5% allocated, to build a small emergency unit to support the system. Mr. Speaker, there's no way one can say the facilities you have in Kolebu, you have that same facilities in a village in my constituency. But there are protocols with which healthcare systems should have, and the staff should be well trained and to understand what time should we refer. But the excuse that because there's no beds so one cannot be treated is not tenable. And I believe if, for instance, our ambulances are not running, what is the government doing to make sure we can maintain these ambulances and make sure that they are fit for purpose and make sure that they are working, Mr. Speaker?
The honorable member, don't go into those issues, because there is no government that has come to govern this country and all ambulances are working and running at all times. Even during the reign of the person you quoted, it's the same thing. And that quotation was wrong. Please, when you lose an economy, you lose lives. You don't know that? So when you say you are bringing back the economy, you know how to bring back economy, but you don't know how to bring back lives. The time you've lost the economy, you've lost so many lives that you can't bring back. Please, let's address the issue, what is confronting us now, and stop the politics.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and respectfully, I don't intend to debate, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm trying to repeat and to emphasize on the fact that every single life matters, and whatever possible our healthcare system can put in place with respect to the limited resources that we have as a country, how best we can efficiently allocate them and to make sure that all staff and logistics that are in place are put to good use, so that it doesn't matter, because, Mr. Speaker, it could happen to any of us. We know there's an issue of hit and run, which I believe the law will take its course. But also, let's assume this same thing had happened in another village where there's no bigger hospital. What is the protocol? Every hospital, Mr. Speaker, as I know, there are protocols that one has to follow. Are we making sure that even all our healthcare professionals or even members of parliament are taken through CPR and such training, basic things that even our resources are limited, we can still make use of? Mr. Speaker, we know healthcare facilities within the villages are not there, but healthcare professionals are able to improvise because they have been given more detailed training and have been given the training set that every life matters, and we don't want to play with nobody's life, and we don't want to do politics with anybody's life, but we want to work on, and we as a house, now such a thing has happened, I'm also in support of the fact that we should institute a committee that will look into Charles Amisa's issue, so that another Charles Amisa incident doesn't happen to anybody or any member in this. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank the maker of the statement.
Yes, honorable member at the back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement. And let me also express my deepest condolences to the family of the late Charles Emisa on behalf of all of us, and in particular on behalf of the board and management of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the minority leader for this statement is very timely, and he has set the tone for us to really examine the issues. Permit me to take us a bit down memory lane to remind us of something that is not too pleasant. In June 2018, there was a 70-year-old man, Mr. Prince Anthony Poku Echampong, who died after visiting 7 hospitals, including a hospital that his company supplies stationery to. He was a CEO of a stationery company, and they supplied stationery to this hospital, and he was turned away, and the explanation or excuse was the same. The then Minister of Health did his best, constituted committees to ensure that this will never happen again. Unfortunately, 8 years down the line, we have this time a younger person, strong person, an engineer, losing his life to a similar circumstance. Very, very, very unfortunate. But Mr. Speaker, when we say no bed in the hospital, what actually do we mean? A no bed could mean that there is no physical bed at the emergency. It could also mean that there is no blood if the managers anticipate that that patient will need blood, and so they want the person to go elsewhere. It could mean there is no a particular skill. For instance, an anesthetist is not there, and they think that that patient will require surgery. It could mean there is no theater space. It could mean there is no oxygen in this hospital. There is no ICU bed, but we think that this patient needs ICU care. It could mean there is no stroke bed, and therefore we are telling you no bed because you have a stroke. There is no doctor at this moment, so there is no bed. Mr. Speaker, but the most disappointing part is that no bed could simply mean that the staff are not willing to work. And that is the very, very sad part. This no bed could mean that a shift is about to end and someone is not willing to admit a new patient and do all the documentation, so turn the patient away. No bed could mean that the doctor is afraid to work or is tired and feels that if he touch that patient and the patient pass away, duty of care is established legally because he has touched the patient. So see no evil. I have not touched that patient, so you cannot blame me for it. But is it really right if a patient dies in the precinct of a hospital, at the entrance of the emergency, wait there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and you say because you've not seen that patient, no duty of care is established? The legal brains will have to help us out. Mr. Speaker, the causes of no bed in this country has been established by previous committees under the former health minister, Honorable Kweku Ajimamenu, and I worked on that committee in my former capacity as General Secretary of the Medical Association. We all contributed to it. But still, the attitudinal problem and some few other factors have brought us this far. You can group the causes into structural, into functional, and one of attitude. If you talk about structure, the WHO recommends that we should have about 2 to 5 beds per 10,000 population, hospital beds. In Ghana, we have 0.9 beds per hospital population. So practically, it can be that our beds are simply not adequate. But when you go to the functional issue, you can say no bed at the emergency, but there may be a bed on the ward. There may be a bed on another ward. And it's just an attitude of transferring a patient from here to that ward so you can create space. And people are not willing to do that. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned earlier, Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where I preside as the chairman of the board, was the last place that this man had his last breath. And we are very sorry about this. We have taken our own measures. We have interdicted 4 staff, and we have set up a committee to investigate. The Minister of Health, as alluded to by the Deputy Minister, has also set up a very high-level committee headed by the revered Professor Ajuman Bedu Akosa, Professor Ajuman Bedu Akosa, and they are working to see the exact cause of this particular incident. But I'm also proud to announce that to bring a comprehensive solution, building on the efforts of previous ministers, the current Minister of Health had already set in motion a team to solve this situation comprehensively. And they are coming out with a document that is going to be looking at a national integrated bed management and referral coordination system. This will be backed by IT and is going to allow us at the real time to be able to tell the categories of bed that are available in a particular hospital. Whether you don't have stroke bed or ICU bed or bed for a pregnant woman or for a child. This work has been ongoing. It is unfortunate that while it was in its final weeks, this incident has happened. And the minister has asked the group to quicken up their work so that he can make a major announcement on this to bring a comprehensive change that would help us. It will rope in the ambulance service so that when the ambulance picks a patient, they don't ask the patient or their relative or a doctor in a small private hospital, can you tell us which hospital is willing to accept this patient? This is the current situation. I have had calls from a lot of colleagues here. They need a patient moved to Kolebu, and the response will be that there is no bed at Kolebu emergency. But when I call, there will be a bed. Why? And so this is what this problem solution that the minister is bringing is going to solve. And I'm pleading that Parliament will give the minister all the support needed so that this problem can be solved once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I will conclude by saying that our ambulance service, by their acts and by their function, may also need to be reviewed. Currently, they do scoop and run. What it means is, at an accident scene, they can pick you up, but they can't even set a simple IV line to give you fluid. For this patient who was being moved from hospital to hospital, if a simple normal saline was running, this patient could have survived. The minority leader mentioned his BP at the beginning. At Kolebu, when they checked the BP in the ambulance monitor, it had come down to 84/56. That is someone who is just about dying. So if they could at least set a line and run some fluid in transit, a lot of patients will survive. So the model that allowed them to only scoop and run must be changed, and their training must be upgraded so that have paramedics that are specialized to be able to provide some basic care. But in conclusion, attitude is our biggest problem. All of this will not change if the attitude does not change. May I stand on this to appeal to my colleague health workers. Look at that next patient, that it could be you, it could be your father, it could be your mother. It doesn't have to be another doctor calling you before you create a bed and accept the patient, because the one that can call, maybe you may be the one unconscious who will call on your behalf. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I think leaders want to contribute. Okay, Honorable Habib.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first.
Honorable members, attitude. please, it's not only referring to the health personnel. Please, let's allow our leaders to make their contributions. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first of all commend my colleague. Listening to him, he spoke with patriotism, with a deep knowledge of the sector and professionalism. Mr. Speaker, he is actually the Deputy Minister of Health who never was. And Mr. Speaker, listening to him, 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 it brings me back to the conclusion of the maker of the statement. The maker of the statement concluded by saying that if a young man can be carried from one public hospital to another, refuse every door until he dies, then the social contract is broken. None of us is safe, not the rich, not the poor, not the politician, not the ordinary citizen. Mr. Speaker, situations like this call for a deeper reflection. It calls for consensus building, not to politicize the entire thing. Mr. Speaker, I just want to note that when you are given an opportunity, either as a minister or a deputy minister, and a statement is made with regards to your sector, any comment you make suppose or can be interpreted to be the knowledge or the position of the government with regards to that sector. And then being made the Minister of Health. The number of ambulances that we even have in the country was somewhere around 57 when you were Deputy Health Minister. So I want to call the Minister, I want to call on the Deputy Health Minister and the Minister that when statement of this nature is made on the floor, we should not always be happy or be in a hurry to politicize the whole issue. It is very sad that if you go into an emergency ward, you will be told that there is no bed, and for that matter, you will lose your life. This is not the Ghana we are all yielding to build. This is not the health infrastructure or the health priorities we want to do. Because, Mr. Speaker, healthcare is a fundamental human right. Your right to have access to proper healthcare, and it is your right to live. So if it is part of someone's negligence or the excuse that there is no bed that will lead to the loss of life, Mr. Speaker, it is something we have to all condemn. And I also support the call by the maker that we should be able to build the capacity of our committee in charge of health to be able to engage the executives of this facility so that we can be able to build a very good atmosphere so that nobody can die with the excuse that there is no bed. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I speak as someone who is alive today because when I had a similar emergency, the system worked for me. I speak as that person. I had an accident somewhere in Nasia, and around 4 a.m. in the morning, Mr. Speaker, by divine occurrence, I was struggling to get to the nearest hospital because even though I had no scratch on my physical body, the impact was so great that I thought something wrong must happen inside me. A market truck, a Peugeot, old Peugeot, which the villagers used to attend market early in the mornings, was passing. It had 8 passengers, a Peugeot. I pleaded with them to open the boot so that I would sit in the boot. And indeed, they came down and they were struggling to remove the spare tire and shift the spiner so that I will sit and then my legs will hang outside because I insisted I must get to the nearest hospital. Luckily, a brand new pickup arrived there and written on it was Navrongo Medical Center. They stopped, they checked, I was the one. They mentioned my name, they recognized me. It was around 5 a.m. by that time, and asked me what was wrong. I said, accident. I want to get to the nearest hospital. So they picked me and they sped from Nasia to Tamale. By the time we arrived there, luckily the health personnel were all down waiting for me because one of our colleagues, Alaji, the late Alaji Limuna, was then the regional minister and had called ahead. So Speaker, our colleague here, Dr. Anaba, was the anesthetist. They used 7 pints of blood on me that morning. 7. They performed the surgery and apparently I had started suffering from internal bleeding from Nasia until Tamale Hospital. A journey of about 2 hours, I was bleeding internally. The doctor said if they had delayed for 30 minutes, by now, perhaps 30 minutes, the doctor said. And Dr. Naba is a colleague in this chamber. Mundaka was a colleague at that time. So Speaker, I speak as somebody who was kept alive because the emergency ward of a hospital worked for me. And it must work for everybody. Every citizen. In some jurisdictions, they would have been outraged. There would have been public outrage, not the type that I see happening. That an accident victim was moved from hospital to hospital and the medical personnel there refused to treat it as an emergency. It says everything about us as a country. The indiscipline, the disregard for human life, the lack of fellow feeling, that we don't see that this is a fellow Ghanaian who, whatever we are doing, we must stop and attend to. Otherwise, a life will be lost. We must be outraged about a thing like this. Mr. Speaker, I believe that we must get to the bottom of matters like this. And I thank my colleague for bringing the matter up. And I think that at all times, this parliament must hold those responsible for such conduct, to account. See, we talk about it and then we leave it there. It happened in 2018. What happened? What did we do? How did those accountable fare at that time? This is what those who have done it today will be inspired by. They will talk, they will do nothing. We want to see action this time. We want to see people held accountable so that the rest of the health personnel across the country will know that this parliament will not sit idly by whilst people negligently lead to the loss of life such as what we have seen. So I thank my colleague for raising it. And Mr. Speaker, I do agree with him that even though government says we are setting up a committee to look into it, that this parliament should be interested in what happens. And so our committee for health should follow up on what government is doing and then bring us a report. And if we are not satisfied with the outcome and the conclusions of government, that this parliament takes very drastic action. It is only then that citizens will know that when we converge here for their very existence. we are here to defend their lives, to defend their rights, and to defend their interests. But Mr. Speaker, we say we should not politicize things. But permit me to say that who is responsible for the conduct of the health personnel? We, the politicians. Who is responsible for making sure that they work under environments where when there's an emergency, they will respond to it? We, the politicians. Who is responsible for making sure that there are enough beds in the hospitals? We, the politicians. So when we say we shouldn't politicize things, I agree that we shouldn't be partisan about it. But the root cause is always political.
Honorable member, who is responsible for the politician? It's the citizens. So it's the citizens. They are responsible for the politician. And so when you started by raising the issue about the outrage, that is not enough. You are right. If the citizens rise up, they should rise up and hold the politician responsible. The politician will be responsible. So you are right, but don't go to the other side. Move in that direction.
No, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm trying to make is that whatever is happening out there in the hospitals, whatever the attitude of the doctors and the nurses and the medical personnel, whatever the level of deficiencies in terms of the infrastructure, we in this chamber, as the politicians, as ministers, as members of parliament, we are responsible, ultimately, because they voted us into office to deal with it, to deal with that problem. Are we doing that? Are we holding them accountable? Are we providing the infrastructure? Is the budgeting done properly? So, Mr. Speaker, I do agree with you that, you know, the citizens put that in place, but exactly why they have put us there is to deal with these problems. So I want to thank the maker of the statement. I agree that there should be outrage. I agree that they should look into it. I also agree that Parliament must have an interest in the outcome of whatever investigations have occurred. Let me conclude, Mr. Speaker, by expressing my most sincere condolences to the families of the bereaved, and to also express our disgust, our shame, and our utter embarrassment at the conduct of our medical personnel. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I want to congratulate you for setting the pace for a national discussion of this matter. This is a very important issue, and I totally agree with you that we should not just leave it at the level of the ministry or the Kolebu Hospital. This house should take keen interest in what happens. And so I'll direct our committee on health to take all the reports that will come from the ministry, the Kolebu Hospital, or wherever, and go deeply into it. We have to take control. We need to inquire further into the matter, and we need to hold people accountable. This is one of the needless deaths we have experienced in this country. At the end of the day, I will urge the House for us to legislate on the matter. We need to pass an emergency care law. Emergency care law on this matter. I know the conditions under which the health personnel operate, but I also know health personnel have handled accident cases, stabilized them in the bush, not in hospitals. Patriotic health workers have done that. And people have survived through that. So please, the few that are miscreants should not be allowed to at least carry the day. That's what has been happening. In fact, you just mentioned one. There are many examples of these needless deaths in this country. And the same people, when you see them working outside, their attitude is different, which means that there's something wrong here. And that is why I partly agree with the majority leader that we should set the agenda as political leaders. But I also recall one of our illustrious kings said that after the politicians are elected into office, they are held hostages by the same voters who elected them. And many of you are seated here playing that game, partisan politics. You can't see beyond your parties. And sometimes you forget that, as some have echoed, you could be the one. Please, so the chair of the Committee on Health, the ranking member, please carry your members along, work on this matter. At the end of the day, the minister responsible for health, together with the committee, will have to come before this house. Then we can take that opportunity to legislate on the matter and try to bring finality to these needless deaths in our country. With this, I thank all of you for your contribution. I'm told that we have another very critical statement coming from the Minister for Lands and Forestry. I would have loved to preside, but I have a team waiting for me. So I will call on the First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. If he's not available, the Second Deputy Speaker will take the chair, and then you can proceed with business. Yes, Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you gave some directives to the Health Committee. Do you have timelines? A sense of urgency is important in these matters.
Very difficult, because I don't know the timelines of the earlier committee set up by the ministry and then also Kolebu. So it's very difficult for me to give timelines. That's why I want them to take control of it, supervise whatever the situation, they will report back to us, then we can take further, clearer directives on this matter. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, the fluctuation of time often kills matters in this country. We are outraged. A few days' time, State of the Nation address is presented, some major economic policy comes, then we move on. So, Speaker, I think that we must begin to inject a sense of urgency in our affairs. And so we must give each other timelines. So, Mr. Speaker, our timeline should dictate the pace at which the hospitals will move. It should dictate the pace at which the ministry should move. We must give them a timeline that we want the report within this period, so that they will know how much pressure they should mount on all the others to finish their work. It's a very simple matter. The facts are obvious. I mean, it's not a complicated case. The facts are already known. They went to this hospital, they didn't attend to. They went to this other hospital, they didn't attend. They went to this other hospital, they didn't attend. What else is going to be investigated? Just the identity of the people who are responsible for receiving the patient, whether they were there, whether they met them, who they spoke to, and who misconducted himself. That's very basic. But the system has a way. When we set a committee to investigate, then they find a way of making sure that the matter dies at that level. By the time a report is ready, nobody's interested, because people have moved on. It denies us an opportunity to fix the situation. So let's have a definite timeline, Mr. Speaker.
I think the First Deputy Speaker will take the chair, and the House will have to give an indication as to the timeline. We don't dictate matters on this floor, we preside. And so if you draw our attention and we all prescribe the area, then the First Deputy Speaker will be clearer in giving a directive as to the timeline. I thank you for the opportunity. First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Live pictures from Parliament, where the Speaker of the House and members of Parliament have been debating recent development of the no-bed syndrome, which has generated public debates across the country. It comes on the back of some public hospitals here in Ghana rejecting a victim who was sent to about 3 hospitals because of the excuse of no bed. And members of Parliament are debating on that particular issue. A statement read on the floor of the House by the Minority Leader Alexander Peyo-Makin got members of Parliament also sharing personal experience and what there is the need to do as far as ending this particular phenomenon is concerned. We brought you live pictures from Parliament. This is Channel 1 Television, and this will continue with our live programming.
Energy and reconnect with your roots this March at the Back to Your Village Food Festival 2026. Join us for a celebration of Ghanaian culture and cuisine from all across the country. More than